The British Cactus and Succulent Society. Whoa.
If you ask 10 different cactus and succulent growers what they grow their plants in, the likelihood is you're going to get 10 different answers. The main requirement for cacti and succulents is that the compost, or the mix that they're growing in, should be very free draining. What I'm going to show you today is the general compost mix that I use for all my plants. So my mixture comprises of equal amounts of John Innes No. 3 compost, and grit sand, mixed together with half that amount of grit. Mix those two together. Add the grit to it, make sure we've got the right amount. Now, you can either use a trowel if you're using a larger amount, or for a small amount like this, it's quite often easier just to mix it with your hands. Make sure you get a good thorough mixing of all the components. It's quite a good idea if you've got a large mix of plants in your collection to have one type of compost that you use throughout the entire collection. That often helps in terms of watering, because the time it takes for the compost to dry will be the same throughout the entire collection. Obviously, sometimes when people specialise, they may vary their compost and their growing regimes for different types of plants. And there it is, all nicely mixed together. There are lots of other materials that people use to grow their plants as well. Some people use pumice, some people add limestone to the mix, some people have more organic material, and a lot of that will depend on the types of plants that you're growing. A couple of other materials that you can get from garden centres that are quite useful sometimes are a couple of lightweight materials. We have perlite, which is this sort of white lightweight material, looks a bit like polystyrene bits, and we also have vermiculite. Again, another mineral type material, but very lightweight and can be quite useful if you're trying to pot up a big plant that's going to be very heavy if you have a lot of grit and stuff in the soil. The important thing is to find out what works under your conditions, because what works for somebody on a windowsill will be different to what works for somebody in a greenhouse or a conservatory and so on. But whatever mix you decide to use, don't forget, enjoy growing your plants.
The British Cactus and Succulent.